Hi everybody, welcome to our webinar. Thank you for joining us. My name is Alison Renwick. Today is the fourth of our series of best practice webinars that Softtech is hosting and designed to help you grow your business. We would like these webinars to be interactive, so we encourage you at any time through the presentation to type in your questions at the GoToWebinar questions bar, and we'll address these at the end of the presentation. Phillips is going to be joining us for today's presentation. He is talking us through the Softtech V6 Glass Configurator or Glass interface. Carl is the General Manager in the UK for Softtech. He's been working with Softtech for over 16 years, based out of Birmingham in England, although Carl has worked with our Florida office in the US for 13 years and just recently returned back to England. Carl manages all of our projects for us that are based in the UK and South Africa. He's worked on many different V6 projects during his time at Softtech, and that includes database implementation, macro planning, and interface writing. Thanks again for joining us, and I hope you enjoy our webinar, and I'll hand over to Carl.
Thanks, Alison. Hi, everybody. Thank you for attending. I don't know whether it's morning, afternoon or evening, but thank you for attending. I'll now start the presentation. Okay, can everybody see my screen? Okay, what I'm going to talk about today is the glass interface. Okay, so we'll just wait for the first. Okay, the requirement for the glass interface was to configure both simple and complex glazing units at quote time. Ability to specify individual elements of the glazing unit, such as glass spacers, interlayers, and so on. Purchase glazing units from different suppliers. Purchase individual elements of the glazing unit from different suppliers. So, i.e., a customer might purchase the glass from one supplier, but send it out again to be coated from another supplier. Determine a cost for the overall glazing unit or for the individual elements of the glazing unit. Show a true graphical representation of the glazing unit in a cross-sectional detail within V6. Recall previously configured glass on new jobs, new quotes, and so on. So the solution: develop a simple, easy-to-use interface that shows graphical representation of the glazing unit. Make it friendly enough for users, estimators to easily create or modify units at quote time. Make it easy enough to add any type of glazing unit structure. Control how the interface works through the use of simple V6 lookup matrices. Also control the options available for each input through, once again, lookup matrices. Make it multilingual. So we've developed what we call the glass interface, the V6 glass interface. And as it stands today, the glass interface has been running successfully at one company for over 3 years now. It's also been implemented in Europe and is now being included in a rollout to hundreds of European dealers. It's also being used to configure glazing suitable for impact-rated glass, compliant with NOA regulations. And it's now being incorporated into more and more V6 implementations. Okay, so we'll now take a look at the glass interface. Once that slide goes off, hopefully you can all see the V6 main screen. Okay, so what I'm going to do is walk you through how the glass interface looks and feels. So if we click a new quote, okay, and what I'm going to do is click the icon to run the glass interface. And what it's doing is just loading all the properties. And it's taken a little bit longer. I think it's, there we go. Okay, so this is the glass interface screen, the user interface. Okay, it's split into 4 areas. Here on the top left-hand corner, we have the options to allow us to select the different types of glazing units. The area just below that is, it will list in here all the quote IGUs within the quote. And you'll see as we add configurations to the quote, the next time we run or each time we run the glass interface, they'll appear here for us to be able to edit. Okay, in the bottom corner here, bottom left-hand corner, is the main properties for that glazing unit, the glass mark, the overall thickness, a description, a cost, and so on. In the top right-hand corner, you'll see the graphical representation of the glazing unit. And here we've just got a standard single glazing unit, a monolithic glass. Below it are the properties for that glass layer. Okay, if I click through, so we go to a laminated glass, you'll see that the graphic changes, and then we can click and we have the individual properties for each layer that we can set. So what I'm going to do is just start with a nice simple single piece of glass, and we'll click new, and I'm going to call it G1, and I'm going to say this is a 1/4 inch glass. Now the glass interface can be run in various ways. I'm going to show you 3 possible different ways of running it. Okay, this is the first, and here it prompts you to select and specify all of the options. So the first part is the vendor or the supplier. So I can pick a generic glass supplier, and then what will happen is, depending upon who I pick, so if I pick the generic, my options will change. So here are the color options for that glass. If I change to a different vendor, you'll see that these options change. These options are all controlled by lookup matrices that you, the customer, can actually maintain and control. So go back to generic, I'm going to pick clear. If I pick bronze, if you look at the graphic, it's telling me here what the thickness is, and it's also showing me a color of the glass. So if I pick a gray or a green, you can see the color. So I'll just go back to a bronze. Then the next thing I can do is click the strength. And again, these are all options controlled by yourselves. And then we've got coatings for surface 1 and coating for surface 2. And you'll see here, we've got 1 and 2. So I'm going to have uncoated here and uncoated here, nice and simple. What I'm also going to do is I'm going to manually specify that the cost of this is £12.50. I can enter a description. I'm going to click OK. And what this has done in the background, it's added it into V6. So the glass interface is an external application that's been developed in .NET. Okay, so I'm now going to add configure. Let's pick a double. Okay, so here you can see we've got a double or an insulated glazing unit. If I click new, I can say, okay, this is going to be glass mark 2. You'll notice the error. That means, this error sign means that I haven't configured everything yet. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to specify that I want a 1-inch glazing unit. As soon as I do this, the glass interface is auto-calculating some of these fields by defaults that I've set in the lookup matrices. So I'm going to pick, okay, I'll go for cardinal glass this time, solar blue, annealed, and let's put a coating on. And as I specify the coating, you'll see that it will show you a code for that coating. So I can now pick on the exterior piece of glass, and I can, once again, I'll pick cardinal. I'll just have clear. And this is quite long-winded. This is the manual way of specifying everything. Okay, each individual layer. So here I can pick, okay, I'm going to go for cardinal glass as well. And you'll notice I'm able to pick different suppliers for different parts of the glass. What we can do as well is we can configure the glass interface so that it prompts you for a single supplier, and then you have to, you won't be prompted on each layer. Okay, let's click OK. In fact, if I don't put a cost in, it will prompt you and say, do you wish to continue? If I say yes, it just means that it's going to be 0 cost. I can go back at any time and edit this. What's usually the case is, depending upon the size of job, you can go back to your suppliers, tell them your quantities and your glass makeup, and then they'll come back to you with a price for that job. So we'll click OK, and we close that. And here we've got the 2 glazing units. What I'm going to do is go into my default options, and I'm just going to set one of them. So I'm going to pick, okay, G1. I'm going to now go in and I'm going to add an item. Now, what I'm not showing you is a system. This is purely about the glass. So let's do 100 by 100, and let's make it 333. Okay, and if I do a CAD link, and there we go. So that's for the single monolithic. Okay, what I can do now, if I go back to the design, I can go into the wizards and go to the light by light glazing. And what I can do here is select the light. I can do multiple lights. And I'm going to specify, pick a quote IGU, and I'm going to pick G2. Okay, and click OK. So now I can go back to my CAD link. And you'll see that it's now showing you the glazing unit. Okay, nice and simple. If I go to the BOM, I can look at the IGUs and it will give me a makeup. So I can see the glass and the spacers and so on. But what I'm going to do now, if I go back to the item into the design, I'm going to save this quote. And then I'm going to run a report for that glass, for that job. Okay, so this is page by page, each glazing unit. So here we've got G1, single glazing. You've got the vendor, a generic vendor, the thickness, the color, and the strength, and the coating. And then obviously you've got here the price or the cost per square foot. And then below we have a schedule, and it's got the quantities and the sizes, and then the total square foot. Okay, the square footage. And this is just a general report. So if you were to take the glass interface, you could generate your own specific reports to suit. So if I click to the next page, this is now the double glazed. And as you see, it's a little bit more detailed. It's showing you layer by layer. So we have glass, spacer, and glass. And then it's got the properties for each one. And then once again, the schedule, quantities, size, and so on. So that's the output from V6. I'll just close that down. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you a different method. Okay, one of the things we can do from here is if you want to save this configuration, you can right click and you can say save as an Ide resource. And this means that you can save it as a resource and then pull it back into any job. So any future job, if there's a certain type of glass configuration that you've used on a previous job, and you want to use on a new job, you just simply save it and reload it. Okay, so I'm just going to close that. I'll save that quote. Now you'll notice in that I was entering the price manually. Okay, but what you can do, if I click a new quote again, this time I've got a little macro here. And what that's going to do is give me the option to preload already configured glazing types. So I'm just going to click through each one of these. I'm going to load all of them just to show you. Okay, I'm just going to do G1, G2, G3, G4, G5, G6, and I'll click OK. Now there's going to be one difference here. This macro is going to add the glazing units to the quote. But then there is a pricing macro that goes through looks at each one of these configurations in turn, looks at the configuration, and then uses an external database table that's got pricing in for that supplier and that configuration. So what it does, the macro looks at the configuration, goes to this external table, and then pulls in and calculates the correct price or cost for that unit. And it calculates the configuration cost and then any add-ons. So you'll see here. Now I can turn this message off, but I just wanted to show you how it's working through and automatically calculating the cost. And what it's doing here is specifying the cost and updating it on each glazing unit. Okay, I'm now going to run and add a product again. Okay, and I'm going to set a size 120, 120, 6. Click OK. Okay, we do the CAD link again. Click OK. And there you'll see it's all and this is laminated glass. And what you'll see, you've got the 2 layers of glass, and inside, in the middle, you've got the actual interlayer, the PVB interlayer. And just to show you what that looks like in the glass configurator, okay, here are G1, G2, and you can see the different structure, the glazing structure here. Okay, we'll close that. And at any time I can edit this and change the spacers and the different types of glass and so on. Okay, so I'm just going to hit save on this. What it's doing now is it's just going to recalculate. Every time it comes out of the glass interface, it just forces a recalc of the prices. Okay, I'm going to go into, that's G6, that's the last one. So I'm just going to go into design. I'm going to go into wizards, and I'm just going to populate some glass. Some of the lights with different glass. So here, we'll pick a type D. Yeah. Okay, click OK, and CAD link. Okay, and there you can see. Okay, so I'm going to close this quote. I don't need to save this. I can run the report on it and so on. You'll get exactly the same output from the report, i.e. telling you, breaking it all down into the individual layers and telling you the properties of each layer. What I am going to do, I'll just start a new quote and show you the third method of selecting glass and specifying the glazing unit. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to run the glass interface. Okay, what I've got here at the bottom, the last 3 here, I've got a Ide Resource. These are basically single, double and triple glazing, but they are set up and configured slightly different. Okay, if I pick the double and say new, I'm going to put my the glass mark in, but this time I'm not specifying the required thickness. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pick the layer, and I can use control and do multi-select here, and I'm going to pick the resource. So I'm going to pick the glass that I want to use for it. Okay. And what that's done is it's configured both of them at the same time, and it's calculated it as being 1/2 inch in size. But you'll notice the little red dot. That's telling me that I've not configured the spacer yet. So I'm just going to go into the spacer, click, and I'm going to select a spacer. Now, the idea of this is that if you are a manufacturer and you have many fabricators or dealers, they may want to maintain their own glass library. So the idea here is they can put their own glass into V6 and then use this method of specifying the glass, where they just pick the required glass as opposed to specifying each individual property. Okay, so let's just bring that back up. There we go. I must have. Okay, so I'm going to click OK. I can also specify the corners of the spacer. I'm just going to leave the cost at the moment. Add it to the quote. Close that down. And again, just to finally show you this. And then I think I'm be open to questions from yourselves. Just wait for this to come up. Okay, so let's go to, I'll just do 50-50 and 1. No need to. So I didn't specify a default, so therefore now I'm just going to go to wizards and do light by light glazing. And I'll just pick the light, G2, click OK, close it. And there we go. So the glass is there. Go to the CAD link. Go to the BOM. And there we go. And you can see there the makeup. Okay. That's basically the presentation. I'm going to have a quick look at the questions that people have been posting. Okay, one of the questions I've got is how easy it is to actually add configurations. So if I just close this, what we can do, everything is set up in lookup matrices. And we've got here, so glass configs, go to the matrix. And the idea here is you can see, this is just all of the configurations. So if I wanted to add one, I could call it GI triple Carl. And what will happen is I can put a display order here, 22. I'll just call it Carl. I'm not going to take up too much time typing it all out. You can specify the minimum thickness. Okay, well, I'm going to say 1 inch. And I'm going to say up to 1.5 inch. Again, these are all, and then all I need to do is tell it this glazing style is just a customer's requirement, so it won't affect how it works. But all I do is I'll just put glass, spacer, glass, spacer, and glass. And what I've done, so we've got glass, spacer, and it's called triple Carl. So if I click OK, start a new quote, what will happen is it will automatically add it. So just a new quote, oh, no, not new frame, sorry. New quote. Run the glazing or the glass interface. And what that's done in the background It's recognized as a new configuration. And what you'll see is it should appear in the list, and there it is. And what this has done is automatically defaulted to, it set the glass and the spacers to defaults that I've set in the lookup matrices. Okay, I've got another question here, and this will take this as the last question. The glass interface will work with both 3.6 and 3.7. The only part that you can't do in 3.6 is where you are selecting it as a resource. That's currently only available when you're running it in 3.7. And that's it. I hope it's been of use to you and you've enjoyed the presentation. And I'll hand you back now to Alison. Thank you very much, everybody.
Great, thanks very much, Carl. If you do have any questions and would like to get in touch with Carl or myself, you can get us on email alison.renwick@softtech.com or carl.phillips@softtech.com, or you can get in touch with us through the live chat feature on our website as well. Thank you for joining. Till next time.
Thank you, everybody. Take care.